All right, so we are here today with the James B. Duke Professor of Behavioral Economics, Dan Ariely. Dan, thanks for being here with us today.
My pleasure.
So today we'll be discussing race, prejudice, and political correctness with Dan. So to start off with, we're just interested in some of the experiments that Dan's done related to these. So Dan, what's some of your research regarding these topics?
So this is not really my area of research, but I've done a couple of projects. One project was, we call it the PC game. And the way it worked was the following. We had two people, each of them looking at the computer screen, and one of them had one picture, and one of them had 20 pictures. And the person with the 20 pictures had to guess which one of the 20 pictures was the one picture that the other person has. And they could only ask questions that has to do with yes or no. Is the person standing or sitting? Is there a tree in the picture? Yes or no? Stuff like that. And race was a very good indicator. Half the pictures were people who were white, half the people black. And the question was, would people use the race? And the first thing we found out is that people did not use race enough. It's a really good question. And when we show people these as shapes, they use color. But when we show people, they don't use as color. Also, when they use color, were much more likely to say, is the person white, rather than saying, is the person black or is the person African American? But the other thing we did was we changed the second person they were asking. So if we change that person from being a white Confederate, the other person worked for us. If we change them from being white to being black, all of a sudden people use race much less. So if I talk to you and you're white and I'm white, I'm happier to use race. But if you were African American, all of a sudden I would be a bit more apprehensive. Now, noticing colors doesn't make you racist. But I think people are so concerned about that they pretend to even not notice color. And the funniest version was when we called the game the FBI Most Wanted game. And you sat together with an African-American Confederate and you called it the FBI Most Wanted game. Now people basically didn't use race at all, because now it really falls into stereotypes. The other curious thing about this, though, is that people did it because they wanted the Confederate to like them. Right? So if you and I played and you were African-American and we called this the FBI Most Wanted game, I would not notice race because I don't want you to think bad of me. I mean, that's the reason for it. But what they actually did was they didn't look at the person in the eyes as much. They were so concerned that they actually basically kept on looking around the room rather than trying to make a connection, and actually were much less likable because of that. Right. So the idea is that we have this desire to be seen as not prejudiced. It broadens to even things that have nothing to do with prejudice. For example, noticing race. But this concern that runs within us make us so apprehensive that it actually makes us less social. Right.
So these are both interesting studies. What do you think are some sort of real-world implications for both of these?
So I think the implications really is about, I don't think everybody is politically correct, right? I think there's lots of people who are bigots and lots of terrible things are happening. So I think that the real-world implications all have to do with how concerned people are with their impressions and what do we think about political correctness. So there's clearly lots of people in the US, in the world over, that are really not politically correct. We have people who are bigots, do hate crime, lots of things of that nature. But when we try to educate people for political correctness, the question is, what are the right limits for political correctness? And in those two cases, I think we overshot. And it's just not clear what is the right level. I think we want people to be concerned with prejudice, but we don't want them to be so concerned that their impression management approach is backfiring. We don't want to actually create a situation that if somebody from a minority group comes to you with a crazy suggestion, you will be more likely to do it because you don't feel comfortable saying no. So how do we gauge the right amount, I think, is crucial. And also, how do we keep some sense of humor about this?
Yeah. So where do you think we've gone wrong in overshooting here, and maybe how can we correct this to have the right level of political correctness?
So I think that it has been such a big topic of discussion, and people get so much negative signals and feedback if they only mention something or tell a joke or something like that, it could be really detrimental.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.